Dale here today. We're going to be talking about this Aero Highwayman classic 1950s style leather jacket. A little bit about Aero. They've been making vintage style leather jackets since the 1980s. For them, they really make jackets that are from the earlier eras, from 1920s to 1960s. If it's more recent than that, they don't make it. Their arguably most popular style is the Highwayman, and that is the jacket I'll be reviewing today. They are known for using especially heavy chrome excel front quarter horsehide, while also offering quite a variety of leathers and lining options and different styles of jackets from lots of different eras. So in this video, we're going to kind of cover the iconic Aero jacket and go into some details about the pros and cons and things you should know about when buying from Aero. So this Highwayman is made out of a heavy chrome excel steer hide. This leather is impregnated with waxes and oils in the chrome excel way, and it has a really beautiful depth of color, and it's developed a lot of character over time. You know, this is a used jacket, so it's already had some break-in and wear on it, and it's all the more beautiful for it. You know, the brown chrome excels are, in my opinion, amongst the most beautiful when it comes to depth of color right out of the box, and they really can develop this great look over time. This steer hide is heavier by weight than their flagship horsehide, but it is a little easier to move in, and I quite like the difference. The chrome excel horsehide jackets that I had from Aero were significantly stiffer and even with break-in compared to this chrome excel steer hide, which gets to one of the things with Aero, which is there's so many options that landing on one single best option for you can be difficult, which we'll get to a little bit on later. So other things that this jacket is made out of, it's got this tweed lining, really pretty with these kind of little pips of color in there, which I quite like. The arms are lined with heavy cotton drill. It's just a really hard-wearing cotton weave, and while it is not slick, it is easier to move a arm through that than it would be through the tweed lining that's in the body. The ends of the sleeves have storm cuffs. These block out the wind. They form a rather tight seal around your wrist. I would say one downside of that is that it can be difficult with a watch on to be comfortable, and I actually don't wear my watch whenever I have this jacket on because of those storm cuffs. The back of the jacket is pretty simple. It has a mild little Western style yoke, but it doesn't have a big dip, and it doesn't really strongly feel of Western vibes. And it does have side panels that can be gathered together with cinches that are at the back bottom of the waist. It does also have two hand warmer pockets. They are not zipped. This jacket doesn't have any internal pockets, although Aero does make jackets with internal pockets. You could get that if you wanted. As to the construction on the jacket, it is well put together with really heavyweight thread. No surprise considering the weight of this hide and the materials that are used for the jacket. So the stitching is not perfectly straight throughout. There are no issues that I found with the stitching, no areas that are not still connected, nothing coming apart. It's functional, but not beautifully perfect like can happen with some of the Japanese and other high-tier makers like Thedi. But again, to get that level of meticulous detail costs a lot more time and effort, and so it also costs a lot more money. So I think it's a good middle ground where you get what you need and the stitch work is well done. One issue from a construction standpoint with this jacket is the zipper. And this is something that's kind of a common complaint that bears out with this jacket. So it is a relatively small zipper. It's a number 5 zip, and this jacket is heavy. I mean, it weighs 5 pounds or so, and there's no really heavy metal components adding to that weight. There are not a lot of zippers or buckles or snaps on this jacket, so the majority of the weight comes from the leather, and the zipper on this jacket failed. Now, it's not a catastrophic failure, but the pull tab on the zipper slide got ripped off by the previous person that had this jacket. Is this a huge deal? No. But it speaks to a larger kind of known issue with Aero jackets, which is that they have these heavier, stiffer leathers, and they use these small zippers to be period specific. And it can cause a problem if you're not careful with pulling up that zipper Something to be aware of with Aero jackets, and maybe the most common technical complaint that I hear about from their jackets is the zipper. And this jacket is a perfect example of it. Another thing to note about the construction on this jacket is that you have this really heavy hide, and you have a lining material, this tweed, which is significantly less robust than that hard-wearing leather. And over time, sometimes folks find that that lining wears out, especially in high-wear areas like the bottom hem in the back, and it will get kind of tattered back there. It can also happen against the back of the neck. And I think this is something just to take in stride, honestly. Some people complain about it, but if you can get 10 or 15 years of wear out of a lining and then have it replaced or covered up, I don't think that's so bad. I mean, think about the maintenance we do on boots and shoes and the high wear areas like the heels that might need to be replaced or capped. And just maintaining a heavy duty garment over time seems like a reasonable choice. Quick interruption to say, if you like this video, could you push the like button? If you like this type of content, would love it if you subscribed. It's what I do all the time. Let's get back to it. Let's talk about sizing, fit, comfort. So I am 5'9". I weigh 175 pounds and I have a just over 40-inch chest. I take a size 40 in almost everything. And in this jacket, the Highwayman, I took the standard sizing advice that I see most people give, which is to size down 2 full sizes. So this is a size 36 on me, and it fits like a sort of short 40 in most kind of modern sizing. And this gets to one of the things with Aero that can be difficult, which is that they build jackets to the standards of the era that they are trying to replicate. And this is a 1950s style jacket, and in the 1950s, oversized was in. And so this is a really big jacket if you go off the tag size. And if I bought a 40 in this jacket instead of a 36, I would be swimming in it. Some people just size down 1, and that would make for a reasonable size, I think, 2. I could wear beefier layers underneath it, and it would be slightly longer, but I'm really happy with the fit sizing down 2. With the way that I typically wear jackets and garments, this seems to be the fit for me. Now, the complaint that I see about sizing with this particular jacket, and it feels like people have trouble unlocking this, and there's been so much discussion about this, but I think just sizing down 2 is best for most people. And I've seen a lot of folks wearing them, and it seems like people feel like there's too much material at the back or there's other issues with it, but you need to have a little space on the back or you won't be able to move in it. So it's okay if it's a little bit oversized, even if you size down 2, because you need to be able to move in it. And this jacket doesn't have underarm gussets or an action back, so that extra material is where the mobility comes from. And 2, some people do need to add an inch of length. And this gets to sometimes when you're buying from Aero, you just have to pay really close attention to the sizes for their stock jackets, or if you're buying used, really pay attention to the sizes there. When I say sizes, I mean the specific measurements of the jacket. This jacket has about a 24-inch length, which is great for me, and I like short jackets, as I've mentioned before. But some people might find it to be too short, especially if you're taller than 5'9". Well, heck, what do you do? You might just look for a jacket with a slightly longer back length, which they do make, whether you wait for them to have one show up used or on their stock page, or if you just order a custom jacket from Aero and specify 1 inch added to the length or added to the sleeves as need be. That's an easy modification from Aero, and it kind of built into their custom ordering process, which only adds maybe $100 or $120 to the cost of the jacket, which isn't so bad. Now, once you've landed on your fit, how does the jacket wear? Well, it wears quite easily, I find. And this is interesting because I've worn a lot of different Aero jackets, and this is basically tied for the heaviest, but it is by far the most comfortable. And to compare it really specifically to 2 models that I think are similar, I had both a Premier Highwayman, which is a very slimmed up version of the standard Highwayman. So slim, in fact, that folks typically, instead of sizing down 2 full sizes, they size up 1 size for the Premier Highwayman. So I had a Premier Highwayman in size 42, and all the measurements for that jacket lined up for what you would expect to work for me. But I found that with the high armholes and the slimmed up arms on that jacket, it was way too tight for me to wear comfortably for any period of time. And I really just had to let it go. I had to move that jacket on because if I had it on for more than 45 minutes, it became quite uncomfortable. And it's the kind of thing where it looked great, but ultimately, if you can't wear the jacket, who cares how it looks? So that was my first experience with a Highwayman. I did try another short and boxy style, which is the 1950s half belt. It's another really popular model. And it kind of looks similar to the Highwayman, but it is a little bit longer and a little bit narrower than the Highwayman. And it has a different pocket configuration, and the back looks a little different. But it's in a similar vein of style. And with that model, you size down one from your standard sizing to get a modern fit. And with that jacket, it was, I don't know if it was the cut of that jacket or if it was the horsehide on this jacket, which seemed to be a particularly thick and stiff batch of the Chrome XL front quarter horsehide that they use. Perhaps this is an argument for not getting the heaviest, stiffest leather you can and trying to manage it. But with that jacket, it did look amazing, and I could not wear it for more than an hour or so before it started to become uncomfortable. And some of that with that cut too, it was the angle of the shoulders. It did feel a bit like that jacket was not evenly balanced across my shoulders, and it was weighing against my neck and the edges of my shoulders. And the slope of the shoulders didn't really match well to mine. And this kind of gets to a point, which is with Aero offers so many different jackets of so many different eras, and they have so many different patterns and cuts, and so many different leathers that it can be kind of boggling to find the jacket that both fits like you want and feels like you want. And it has taken me, maybe this is my 5th or 6th Aero, to find one that I truly feel is actually comfortable and fits me properly. Now, kind of silly that I didn't just go for the traditional Aero Highwayman first, because it turns out that that actually was the best fit for me. I think it's because so many people talk about how difficult it is to find a fit on this jacket, and maybe it just isn't. Maybe just short and boxy is good. So, as far as the wearability, this jacket feels great, and it is easy to move around in. Yes, it has a little bit of extra material on the back if you look at it as a static jacket, but in motion, that extra material makes it quite easy to move around in. And the larger arms on this jacket make it easy to move my arms and have the phone to my ear and just do stuff without my arms getting tired and feeling like I'm fighting the jacket. All right, so the Highwayman, it's a comfortable, wearable jacket, but what can you wear it with? How versatile is it? And so I think like many half belt styles and straight zip non-motorcycle jackets that have a dress collar, like a lot of half belts, like my Rainbow Country Hercules, these are jackets that have a more refined or dressier starting point. And so they do look great with, a dress shirt and slacks. They look great with traditional workwear, like denim and denim shirts, or chambray, and they can also look good with t-shirts or Henley and jeans, but it would be really difficult to pair with the really kind of modern street style hoodie and sneakers. Might be a harder match. Maybe you could pull it off, but it is leaning a little further away from where the jacket naturally sits to pair it with those more modern streetwear styles. But overall, a really versatile jacket. Let's talk about the cost and the value proposition that Aero is offering with this Highwayman. So if you buy direct from Aero, you're looking to likely pay between, say, $600 to $900 for this jacket. That depends on if you're buying it from their stock page or ordering custom. It depends on what the jacket is made out of. Some leathers cost more than others. This particular leather is kind of one of the standard ones, so it doesn't get an upcharge. And it also depends on the currency conversion for the pound to whatever your currency is at the time you're buying. So there's a lot of fluctuation there possible. I think that at that price, you get what you would expect, mostly. I would honestly like to see a different zipper or the option to have a more robust zipper, but they are not interested in doing that. And maybe you just have to, part of the price is that you're careful with your zipper, unlike the person that previously owned this jacket. I really think that with the number of options available and what they're offering is kind of amazing. I think that some folks would expect Aero at their price to be a grail, high-end, the best jacket ever made. It isn't that, but it is available. It's beautiful. You can find a style to fit what you want. And the price is, I think, quite reasonable for what you're getting. They're not the highest tier jacket. They're not the lowest tier jacket, but they're accessible and available because of that. Now, one of the things that also kind of insulates you from risk regarding price for this jacket is there is a thriving used market for Aero leather jackets. You can either decide to sell your jacket and likely recoup about 50% of the cost, or you can go out and buy a used one for about 50% of the price of new, whatever makes sense for you. So I do think that when you're buying from a maker that has this pool of used jackets that has a thriving market around it, it really does make it easier to give it a shot. So the math here is pretty straightforward. You know, if you wear a jacket like this a few times a week for a year, and then you're looking at a cost per wear that's around maybe $8. And then if you wear it more often than that or wear it for more years than that, the cost per wear just keeps going down. You know, at around 5 years, maybe you're at 50 cents to $1 per wear, which is a fantastic cost per wear. And so it's easy to balk at the price of something that is durable without really considering the effect of that durability on cost per wear. So the value proposition here is quite good. Initial thoughts on this Aero Highwayman are really positive. I really like the fit of it. I like the short and boxy nature of it. I think it's a really versatile style, and I think the leather and construction are incredibly beautiful. I like that the leather is so hearty, and you know, with Chrome Excel, you can get caught in the rain. You don't have to worry about it. All these are great things, and I think that for my style, I'm not really often wearing sneakers and hoodies. I do that sometimes, but you know, this is a good jacket to wear for everything up from there, and that's great. The really only negative I have to say about this jacket is really the zipper. And I don't think it would necessarily be a problem if I have been the only owner for this jacket, but I'm not. And clearly whoever had it before me had a problem that a lot of people do, which is with the zipper durability. And I kind of wish it would be possible to get a beefier zip straight from Aero. It doesn't seem to be something they're interested in, and it doesn't match up with their kind of design and aesthetic goals. But I may very well get this zipper switched out for something stronger if I have problems with it. That'll be something to kind of keep tabs on, and I'll report back. I will be replacing the pull on this zipper slide and cleaning the zipper and putting some zipper wax on it, and I think that will make it work a lot better, but you know, time will tell. Overall, for a jacket at this price with all of the positive qualities really outweighing kind of the one big negative, I have to say, awesome jacket, really happy I have it, and kudos to Aero for making kind of this iconic vintage style jacket that is widely available and accessible to a lot of different folks. If you're thinking about the Highwayman, give it a shot. Maybe you'll find out that short and boxy is actually for you. Hey guys, Dell here today. We're going to be comparing an expensive versus luxury leather jacket today. So the expensive jacket is this Schott 618. It is made in the USA and it costs $915. The luxury jacket is a Rainbow Country Hercules. It's made in Japan and costs about $2,200. What makes the difference in price? Is it worth it? Let's dig in. So the way we're going to compare these jackets is based on materials and cost, sew-manship or workmanship, how well they work on the human body, and are they suited for their purpose. So this Schott 618, it is made out of heavyweight steer hide. This is a leather that has been treated to be water resistant. It has a top coat to it. This type of leather typically costs maybe around $6 to $8 per square foot. And so it's expensive, but it's not the most expensive option out there. For example, when I was pricing lambskin, you could get that for around $2 a square foot. And these are purely retail costs. So actual manufacturers that are buying at wholesale prices in large quantities would be negotiating much lower prices for the actual leather that they're buying. Other materials and components of this Schott jacket, it's got some heavy duty hardware, snaps, zips, buckle, the big main zip, which is really tough and looks to be a number 10, which is a big bulky zipper. And the interior has this quilted nylon lining with what appears to be maybe more nylon or a duck canvas. I actually don't know what this pocket is made out of, but some robust but not necessarily expensive materials on the interior. How this jacket is put together from a seamanship standpoint is functional but not beautiful. This jacket is well put together. There's no falling apart at the seams going on or anything like that. No loose threads or other problems, but you can find areas where the stitching is a little uneven. That is especially more likely and apparent at places like this, where on the sleeve, two big chunks of leather are coming together, and the stitching that goes across it, I'm going to bring it closer for you to see. We tend to see a little bit of a wobble in those areas. And that's just because it's more difficult right there. You've got two big areas coming together, you've got multiple parts that you're trying to hold, and you're working with a thick leather. So little areas where there are those what you might consider to be imperfections in the leather, in the seamanship, show up more on this Schott jacket. Just in general, you get the sensation that this jacket is well put together, but not beautifully put together. How does this jacket work on the body? Now, this is a place where Schott shines. I think it's one of the reasons why their jacket has had a long-lasting place is because it feels good on the body. It's a jacket that fits well. It's made for motion and works with that motion. It meets the functionality that it's aiming for, which is to say this is a motorcycle jacket and it has a lot of features that are intended for that purpose and that it works well within that purpose. For example, the short length of this jacket in a classic motorcycle jacket, okay, it's perfect for that. For example, the way the arms sit, they are comfortable to have forward, and it's not just because of their length, it's because the way that this arm is attached to the body is it allows for easy motion forward. That's these functional things in the back and the way the arm is sewn on and rotated forward a bit. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into this design that makes it good for the human body and very fit for purpose. So a place that Schott really shines. And I would say if we're thinking overall about those categories, then what we see is that it is made of decent materials with decent attention to detail and meticulousness in the construction, but that the jacket itself is very fit for purpose, very good on the human body, and kind of enjoyable to wear because of that. So all of those things together make this a great jacket. Now let's talk about those same categories with the Rainbow Country jacket. All right, so here's this Rainbow Country jacket. It costs about $2,200 retail. When we talk about the materials on this jacket, we immediately notice a huge increase in price from the Schott jacket. It's made out of Shinki Hikaku horsehide, and this leather runs $20 to $22 a square foot retail. It could actually run higher depending on the particular method of tannage used for the batch that is being purchased to make a jacket. So this leather is way more expensive than the leather that Schott is using. It is also harder to find. You know, the leathers that are produced out of Shinki Hikaku are made in limited quantities. It is just harder to get them, even if you have the money to buy them. So there is an additional rarity involved when we're talking about jackets made from this material. And in fact, some makers like Freewheelers have not been making leather jackets recently because they have not been able to get the leathers that they desire that are up to their standards for making jackets. So we see that in addition to cost, simply having access to the material can be difficult with leather jackets in this tier. Also want to look at other things the jacket is made of. The hardware, for example, is made to a standard to make it seem like it's from the 1930s and 40s, which is the era that this jacket is looking to reproduce. So matching details from the era have an additional cost to it, both from the hardware, which these ball and chain zips are more expensive than the simple ring zips that we see on the Schott chest there. See the comparison there, that little ring guy versus this ball and chain. It's a small example, but it's the kind of thing that runs throughout. The interior, instead of being an inexpensive poly and nylon kind of mixture, is this very nice melt-in wool. It's a beautiful and beautifully attached material. The interior of this jacket is very neatly done. And we even see here in the sleeve with this cotton flannel. Beautiful, a material that is a little easier to get your sleeve into than this wool, while still being a warm, high quality material. So all of these kind of aspects of the material are more expensive. The buckles on the back, you know, everything about this jacket, as a matter of fact, from my understanding from reading about the Rainbow Country brand, is all of these items are sourced from Japanese makers. So that all adds additional cost. How is this jacket put together? What is the sew-manship like? Well, in a word, beautiful. More words? Stunning, amazing, laser-like, just very well put together. And that attention to detail takes time. And it also just means potentially more wastage. If we're aiming for a standard of perfection and you don't quite reach it with a certain part of a jacket, then maybe you have to start over. Or maybe you have more wastage in the hides that you're using because you're only selecting the highest, most perfect panels. And so it leads to a jacket that is much more expensive with materials and much more expensive with the time needed to get those high stitch counts, to get those perfect panels matching. For example, I'm going to show you here the sleeves, how the grain on the sleeve looks with this other sleeve, and then how the cuffs have a different but matching kind of grain. It's intentional. It's on purpose. They're doing this. This is all thought out and put into the design, and all carries through into this being a more expensive jacket. How does this jacket fit on the body? This jacket also does fit very well on the body, and it allows movement while still looking good. It doesn't feel tight, even though it is a very trim fit. You know, it does allow less room for layerings, but that's a matter of the nature of the jacket and the style. And when we talk about fitment for purpose and suited for the purpose, you know, this is a jacket that in general you'd be wearing in the standing position. It does have some features that make sense for that. You know, the arms, they are less aggressively tilted towards the front. They still do have like nice tight high armholes that allow for easy motion. The jacket has what's called a front drop, which means that this front of the jacket runs a little bit longer than the back of the jacket. And that's just because the nature of a standing body is that the hips have a bit of a tilt to them, and so it makes sense for a jacket made for someone standing to have a little bit more length on the front. This jacket on the fit on the body, it's very comfortable and fits well. And suited for purpose? Yeah, very much suited for the purpose. It's a sports jacket. How do you characterize that style? I mean, hanging out is what I do in it, and it does it really well. Overall then, this Rainbow Country jacket, it is largely about the material cost and the production cost in time, that it is going to be more expensive. And it makes sense that it's more expensive because those two categories obviously carry through into the end product, into this jacket and how it looks and feels while on. There's something else that goes into this comparison that I think is not necessarily as apparent without holding these two jackets next to each other or looking right at them, which is while making a leather jacket, a garment that is heavy, you know, around 5 pounds in weight, that is made of a thick and robust material, and the goal is to make it look refined. You can see that this Rainbow Country jacket just has a refined look to it. That is something that it costs more because of the time and materials involved. Now, this Schott jacket, it doesn't look refined. It does look very robust, and robustness has a cost too. It just doesn't happen to be quite as high as the amount of time and energy going on to making this refined looking jacket. Now, between these two jackets, they're both awesome. You know, this one costs $900. This one costs over $2,000. I like them both. You know, the fact that this jacket is over $2,000 doesn't make me like it necessarily more than the Schott jacket. And that's something that I want to get to here. You kind of have to decide, if you're looking at these jackets and considering buying them, what you're going to use them for and how does it work within your wardrobe. I'm a guy that wears leather jackets a lot, and so it's part of my goal with my wardrobe to have leather jackets for many or most occasions that I can conceivably, reasonably wear them. And so I have a wide range of jackets. I would say if you were looking for just 2 black leather jackets, having the Rainbow Country and having the Schott jacket really covers a wide spectrum, a huge spectrum, and if I just had to pick 2, I'd pick those 2. But hey, if you're typically wearing a hoodie and sneakers and t-shirts, you know, the Schott is more in line with that kind of style. If you're typically wearing button-down shirts and trousers, nicer dress shoes or boots, maybe the Rainbow Country is more in line with that style. And so aside from just considering the price of these jackets, you should also consider how it works with what you're wearing and what it is that you're trying to do with your own wardrobe. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of these 2 awesome jackets. Let me know what you think about it, and if I could answer any other questions about them, I'm here for you. Have a good day. Hey guys, today I'm reviewing this Schott 618. About a year after having gotten it, it's been the most worn jacket in my rotation, so I've got a lot of miles in on this jacket. So today I want to kind of share with you what I've learned over this last year. We're going to go over all the basics from what the jacket's made of, how it's put together, how it fits, go over the features of the jacket, and give you my take after all this time, both learning about how to YouTube and learning about this jacket in this video. All right, so the Schott Perfecto, this style, the 618, has been going strong since the 1950s. There have been variations over time, and currently Schott offers quite a few different models that all can look basically the same from the outside. The thing to know about the 618 is that it is essentially the original model and the one that has the most motorcycle-friendly features in their lineup in that classic style. You could say that the 618 is made of basically the most boring or least fancy leather in Schott's lineup. It's this 3 to 3.5 ounce steer hide. This is a pretty heavy cowhide that has been treated to be resistant to the elements, and it's supposed to help protect your body in case you hit the ground and you get road rash on the jacket but not yourself. So it's a tough leather. And it starts off kind of matte and with very little character to it, but as you wear it and break it in, it really does develop a kind of beautiful patina and grain and creases and a lot of character over time. It just takes time and wear to get there. Other things this jacket is made of, it's got a lot of robust hardware on it. It's got a real big number 10 main zip here in the middle. It's got sleeve zips to close off against the wind. It's got the belt to protect the hem against the wind. And interior is lined with 5.5 ounce quilted nylon poly lining. The jacket has pockets, what are hand warmer pockets they're called here at the waist. And it's got a chest zip, you know, back in the day would have probably been used for cigarettes. And then this ticket pocket, coin pocket, kind of an extra pocket little guy here. Could put a bunch of random things in there, but that's the pocket layout. Oh, there's also one little guy right in here, which I have found to be maybe the most useful pocket on the entire jacket because you can put your phone in there and other things. I put my wallet inside this pocket. It really keeps it secure, especially once you zip the jacket. Another feature of the 618, this snap on the back. You may be wondering what it's for. It's actually for attaching a fur collar. Now, Schott sells a faux fur collar. It looks like this. The one they sell actually is not brown like this one, but I have a brown Perfecto, and so I just got it to show. And it snaps into place and is held on by the collar, and it actually provides a surprising amount of warmth. It just helps to give the jacket a little more versatility going into colder months because this lining exists, but it isn't that warm. And, you know, honestly, that fur collar really adds a lot of warmth to your neck so that you don't have to worry about a scarf flying off and you can wear a warm layer underneath and pretty much be set for a lot of different weathers. Other features about this jacket, the jacket is short and it is made for being in the riding position on a motorcycle. So that informs both the length of the jacket. I'm wearing higher rise jeans right now, which you might have seen back in the 1950s when this jacket was originally made. And so it has an easy looking length. I still think the jacket looks good with modern rise pants, but it is a point of contention and some people don't like the shorter jacket look. I made a video about this. Long story short, shorter jackets are better than you might think because longer jackets can get kind of floppy. Now, if you're untucking your shirt all the time, then you might want a longer jacket, but it's a little bit more complex than you might originally realize. So this jacket being comfortable in the riding position, it's short, it's made to where you can hinge forward and reach the arms forward without any real resistance. And so that's why the jacket is short. That's why we have these underarm footballs and action back. Makes for ease of motion to get into that position. Those features actually kind of carry through into everyday comfort. You know, the jacket doesn't get in your way. It doesn't get in your way when you're sitting. It doesn't get in your way when you're driving, if you're driving a car. And you can move around and do your daily things with very little resistance from the jacket, which makes it easy to wear for long periods, even if you're not riding a motorcycle. Other things about the construction on this jacket. Talking about the craftsmanship, so to speak. So the standard Schott quality is, it is very functional, it's well done, but it is not the most beautiful stitch work. Sometimes you can find little wavy bits, you know, especially if you're looking at the ends of the sleeves where a lot of thick leather comes together. And if you're looking for little bits of imperfection, you will find them, but they in no way impair the functionality of the garment. You know, this is something that happens where when you get into paying much, much, much more for a leather jacket from some high-end makers that it costs $2,000 plus for a jacket, then you get kind of more laser-like precision in the stitch work, but it does come with a high cost. About the jacket and how does it feel on the body? You know, how does the jacket? It does very well on the body. Schott knows how to make a jacket that is comfortable, that is not just something that looks good on a model or laying flat, that it actually works around a human body properly with room to move, and it rests properly across the tops of the shoulders and doesn't feel like it's hanging on your neck, and the arms move properly forward, not just because they have those features in the back, the underarm football and action back, but because they've attached the arm to be in a more active position. It's rotated forward a little bit. All these kind of details go into what makes a Schott Perfecto kind of easy joy to wear. Self-promotion break real quick. If you're liking the video, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel. It makes a huge difference. If you do plan on buying from Schott after hearing my honest review here, it would be awesome if you use the affiliate link. I get a tip. It's great. Channel keeps going. You get what you want. Everyone's winning. Okay, let's get back to the video. So that's really the features and construction and nature of the jacket as a thing in and of itself, which is largely what my original review was about. Now, since then, I've worn this jacket a lot. I've worn it quite a bit. I wore it every day in October, for example. It has been the most heavily worn jacket in my rotation. I have to guess I've probably worn it about 120 times, maybe 150 times over the year. And through all those wears, I have both broken in the jacket a fair bit. The arms and shoulders fit even more comfortably than they did when I first got the jacket. The whole body in particular has just settled in and developed some interesting character and become more comfortable. But what I've really been exposed to, aside from changes in the jacket itself, has been the versatility of this jacket and how it is so easy to wear it with so many different things and it still just works. And a lot of that is the idea of the Perfecto. And what happens when you tap into wearing a jacket that is essentially an icon and has been so widely seen is that it just becomes something that's acceptable. You know, it is one of those funny things that while it started off as a symbol of rebellion and people weren't allowed to wear these jackets to school, but now you kind of see it in a lot of different places. Obviously, this is a biker jacket and it has an edge to it. And people still will tell me, oh, that looks great, but I couldn't pull it off. And I think that my answer to that is kind of, it is easier than you think. You just have to put it on. And really, this jacket can go with basically any style. I mean, I personally have worn it like you see here with jeans and a t-shirt, which is how a lot of people think of wearing these jackets. And I have, yes, worn it with lots of denim, but I've worn it with flannel and denim shirts, work shirts, Western shirts. I've worn it with dress shirts and slacks. I've worn it with sweaters and hoodies and, you know, chunky Christmas sweaters. And it has worked with all of these different types of getting dressed. And, you know, I think that's one of the kind of mysteries or wonders, if you will, of a jacket like this is that, yeah, it's busy. Yeah, it's got all this stuff going on. But people are used to it. People have seen it, and it's not like it's the first time they're seeing it and they're trying to take it all in. And so because people have this kind of construct and conception around the jacket, it's easy for it to just be accepted. And I think that this is the kind of great thing about this jacket, aside from all of its features that I talked about, is that it is just way more versatile than people think on initial review. All right, now we have to talk about price and value, guys, because this jacket costs $915 new. That's a lot of money. You know, when I first got into leather jackets and learning about them, I felt like Schott was kind of underrepresented in the niche circles that I was following. And it's partially because there's this kind of break, this dichotomy that happens where folks that are not really into leather jackets believe that Schott is kind of expensive, it's too expensive. And folks that are really into leather jackets, I think, find that Schott is ubiquitous and no longer special and kind of an entry-level jacket. And so how do we square those two very different views? And I think it's, well, the truth is in the middle kind of all the time, right? And so what Schott offers is a incredibly wearable jacket, an icon of style that can kind of morph to fit whatever your personal style is. And it costs $915, yes. Maybe you get it on sale for around $800 new. But it's the kind of jacket that you really can just wear with whatever. And it will be comfortable. And you can get used to it and forget about it and incorporate it into your style. Now, cost per wear on a kind of jacket like this, obviously, you know, I've worn it probably 120 times at least over the last year. Let's say I bought it new at that rate. That would be like what, like $7 to $9 per wear. Okay, that's pretty expensive, but that's just 1 year. And I have a lot of years to go in this jacket. And eventually the cost per wear is going to be down to the, you know, the pennies, the dimes. So that's how we have to think about jackets like this. It's not just something you're going to wear for a season. It's a timeless style piece. And so if it works for your style, which it can as long as you decide to make it work, then the value is enormous. We also have to consider the jacket can be bought used, or if you decide you don't like it, you can sell yours on the used market. And so you're never either having to pay full price if you're willing to go used, or if you do pay full price, you can always recoup a lot of money you've put into the jacket. So the thriving used market for these jackets takes so much of the risk away from buying them, whether if you're buying used or buying new. So again, I think that it's a kind of jacket that the value is there and the cost is much lower than the price tag would indicate. If we do comparison to a similar maker, let's take Vanson, for example. They make their jackets in the United States. They're also biker jackets. They also have similar style of jackets. You're paying maybe $150, $100 more for a similar Schott style. And Vanson kind of leans a little harder into the made for motorcycle riding aspect of things. So their designs, while very comfortable and practical, are a little less acceptable off the bike. And so you are paying for a different kind of style there. You know, people I've talked to me in the comments and messages that you're paying a huge amount for the Schott name. I think that's partially true, but I think you're also paying for made in the USA and the quality components and their incredible patterns. And when you look at similar makers, you're not paying that much more. So it's a reasonably priced jacket. Let's compare it to other makers. I reviewed the Thursday Racer jacket in black. That's a jacket that's made out of essentially disposable materials that costs $350 new. You can buy a used Schott for the same price and it will last you decades. Or you can buy a new Schott and then sell it later if you don't like it and pay the same price yet again. I mean, if you keep the Schott, you're going to get your wears in over time and it will pay for itself, okay? But if you go for these cheaper jackets, you're not getting the style, you're not getting something that will last, and you're not getting something that has that icon status. So, like, why do that? In short, a year later, 120 wears later, the value is there, the style is there, and the comfort is there. This is an awesome jacket. And it's funny too, because whenever I first got it, I was really not sure about it. When I first got into leather jackets, you know, back in 2019 or 2018 or whatever, I always felt like this was never a style that I would wear. And yet here it is, which has become my most worn. I think it's a testament to kind of the awesomeness of the jacket and its versatility, like I mentioned. So if I had to give the jacket a score, I guess it would be a 10 out of 10. You know, there is one thing I would say that I've been recently looking at, the 613S. And it's not for the stars. I don't really care about that. I know some people think that the 1 star is super cool. I don't care about the stars so much, but there is a difference in the design that I think may make the 613S a little better for how many of my pants fit, which is they're a little bit lower rise on most of my pants. And as you can see, the way that this jacket has the oval shape and then a kind of higher front end, the 613S is cut slightly differently, and it goes a little bit lower on the front. I kind of discovered this looking at my 613 GG and then talking to some other folks about it. And yeah, the S being blunt cut, it has the same length on the back at the longest point, but then how this jacket, you can see that oval shape, how it essentially kind of rises up towards the front and then evens out. It doesn't do that. And so that means that the front being slightly longer does do a slightly better job of covering your belt without adding a lot of extra length. And the jacket is more or less the same length, except for maybe a ½ inch in the front. So this coming year, I think I am going to try for a 613S or maybe the SH, which is in horsehide. Very similar design. So maybe the 618 could be a 9 out of 10 after I've compared it to the 613S. Not sure. So do you have a 613S or SH? Do you have a Schott Perfecto? Which model do you have? I'd be curious about your take on it. And thanks for watching this 1 year later review on my Schott 618. Hey guys, Dell here today reviewing this incredible brown Schott Perfecto. We're going to talk about why this brown Perfecto, what sets it apart, and maybe what Schott should consider doing for their current offerings for brown Perfectos. Why should you care about what I have to say specifically? So I'm kind of a leather jacket nerd. I've been into them for the last several years, and I'm distilling my personal experience and knowledge from folks on the internet down in here into this video for you. So what is this jacket? What model is it? This is a 613 GG, which is a special model that Schott makes for the Japanese market. What really sets it apart from a standard 613, well, it is shorter by ½ inch, and it is a very clean back design, which is to say it has no underarm footballs and no gusseting or action back. So it is really a smooth kind of simple design for the back. You know how Schott is often talking about a clean Perfecto where they delete the epaulettes in the belt? Well, this is like a clean Perfecto back. This jacket still has the epaulettes in the belt, but none of that busyness on the back, which, hey, if you're looking for a fashion jacket, maybe that stuff is just too much. What is this jacket made of? This particular jacket is, as best I can tell, made out of a specially treated brown horsehide that Schott made for this particular collab, which was with a Japanese brand called Swagger, or SWG. And it is a little glossier than their standard horsehide, at least according to the description that I found, and softer. It is still a robust leather. I actually wore it out in what turned into be a kind of drizzly, rainy day, and the horsehide kind of shrugged it off. The water beat it off on it. It didn't really do a lot of absorption, and really kind of didn't dramatically change just from getting wet the one time, which are all signs that are pointing towards this is a more robust leather. As far as the weight of this jacket, it is about 5 pounds, which is roughly the same as my Schott 618. It is a little bit heavier when I have the fur collar on it, but I mean, that's just a weight from the fur collar itself. Other features about this jacket, I talked about the clean belt, clean back. It has the belt. All the hardware on this jacket is brass, but still the standard kind of Schott robust hardware. It has standard pocket configuration on the exterior, and it has a single interior pocket on the left side, which is a convenient place to stash your cell phone or something else. If you're a right-handed person, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Sorry, lefties. This must be something you deal with quite a bit. Other things to note about this jacket and what it's made of, the interior is branded SWG. I mean, there's Schott tags and stuff in this jacket, but it was a collab for this store, and they've got their brand on the interior pocket, and it is embossed all throughout the lining. From a construction standpoint, it's standard Schott, which is great. It is not as beautiful as the highest tier Japanese manufacturers or Theti leathers, where the stitch work is kind of a work of art, but it is certainly functional and no problems or anything like that, and very well done to my eye. The pattern on this jacket, again, Schott is very good with their patterns. The jacket feels great on. I can tell you though, with the lack of an action back or underarm footballs, you can feel the tension building across the back of the jacket as you reach your arms forward, that those features would normally alleviate. So if you're planning to ride a motorcycle in this jacket, you might be uncomfortable after a while because it is harder to have a full range of motion reaching forward with both arms. That being said, I'm not riding a motorcycle in this jacket, and for all of my standard day-to-day activities, which include driving cars, talking on the phone, eating food, picking up the kids, all that kind of stuff, no problems whatsoever. It's easy to reach to the ear. It's easy to just do standard motions. I do also typically wear this jacket open, but it closes up just fine, and the mobility is about the same. It's slightly more restricted, which is kind of standard when you zip up your jacket. There is something about the cut of this jacket which is different from the 618, which, having not worn a 613 before, I wasn't actually familiar with whenever I have been talking about the 613. And what it is, this jacket is a blunt cut across the back. The 618 the 618 kind of dips right in the center of the back. So it's slightly longer in the center of the back than it is around the rest of the jacket. And what that actually means for this jacket is that even though it's listed as being a slightly shorter jacket, because the entirety of the back is that same longer length rather than getting shorter around the sides of the waist and front, it actually does a great job of fitting well around the waist. In fact, I think it does a little bit easier job, and maybe to modern fashion day standards, better job of covering part of the belt so that your whole belt isn't exposed. This gets back to functionality, and the 618 is intended as a more appropriate for riding a motorcycle cut, and the 613 is a slight variation on that, especially the tighter modes of the 613. And I like the difference. It's a small difference, but I do appreciate it. Now, about wearing a brown Perfecto. I am wearing today an outfit that I think kind of exemplifies why you may want a brown Perfecto in your life, which is to say, I'm wearing a plaid that has a lot of browns in it. I'm wearing a brown leather belt and brown leather boots. And I think that you can wear this exact same outfit with a black leather jacket, and it will look good. But there is a desire, one, for variety in life, and two, for an outfit to have more of a cohesion amongst the parts of the color palette, which is something that maybe isn't the coolest thing to talk about, but is important when you're trying to build an outfit that makes coherent sense amongst itself. Having brown to go with brown does make a certain degree of sense, doesn't it? And honestly, I think it looks fantastic. And I think that brown in a motorcycle jacket is maybe less commonly seen, since black is so very prevalent when it comes to motorcycle jackets. Brown, we often see flight jackets and other styles in brown that are not directly motorcycle jackets. So like A2 and A1 flight jackets, the G1 with the fuzzy collar, button-up French dispatch style, bigger coats. in brown leather. The Indiana Jones style coats, jackets, are in brown. Those are styles that we see kind of an expectation to see those in brown and not in black. Whereas with motorcycle styles, we have an expectation to see them in black, not in brown, just a little bit there. So it is a little harder to find a good brown motorcycle jacket that's off the rack, And I think that this is an area where I have to say I'm kind of disappointed with Schott's current lineup. The only brown Perfecto that they offer in a shorter length, unless I'm missing something completely here, is the 618. And you can get it in an extremely dark, very dark brown steer hide that they have. When they do special releases and they release Chrome Excel jackets, for example, they tend to be longer. Or their 626 line, those jackets are longer. They're 26-inch length. And I just feel that the models that Schott tends to offer in brown, outside of the 618, are just too long. And I wish that they had more choice there. And so I really wish, for example, that we could get a jacket in this tone of brown, or hell, even in this brown horsehide that was just a standard Schott offering. Now, clearly there must be a reason for this. Schott knows what their numbers look like. Maybe it just would not be bought at a rate that makes sense for them to produce. Okay, fine. But as an enthusiast, it is disappointing that it is not more easily available from them. So Schott, if you're listening, it would be awesome if we had more of those cool brown Perfectos in a shorter length. What do you think about the brown Perfecto? Do you have one? Do you have a brown motorcycle style jacket from another maker and you wear it all the time? And it sounds silly that I'm talking about being excited about having a brown motorcycle jacket. Or would you just never consider brown for a motorcycle jacket? You think it's kind of a fool's errand searching out this brown? Let me know what you think. Hope you have a great day. Today we're going to talk about this Rainbow Country leather jacket. The model is Speedster. It's a cafe racer style that they make. That's one of their standard styles. So in this review, we're going to go over the brand, materials, the features, construction, and the detail. We're going to talk about sizing recommendations and how does the jacket fit overall. We're going to talk about its wearability, both from a comfort standpoint and how it works on the body, plus a versatility standpoint and styling this jacket. And then finally, we're going to talk about the cost, the value proposition for this jacket, and is it worth it? First off, a bit about the brand. So Rainbow Country is a Japanese-based maker. They really do leather goods, and that's about it. And they're known as a very high-tier maker, an expensive maker. They make everything in their jackets comes from Japan. All of the components are Japanese-made, and they're all assembled in Japan. So it's a 100% Japanese-made garment. And they really have a kind of focus on 30s to 50s Americana styles. I did do a review of another Rainbow Country jacket, their Hercules model, and you can see that review. I'll put a link to it here. Now, the materials on this jacket. Now, it's a leather jacket, so obviously leather is the primary material, and kind of if you're interested in this jacket, there's a high chance it's because of the leather that they use. And that leather also drives the cost, and in general is one of the just core components and most important things about this jacket is the leather. And just to say it, the leather is simply stunning. So this is a hide that's made from the Shinki Hikaku leather tannery in Japan, and a kind of a famous place for high-grade leather materials. And Rainbow Country has specifications that they use, and then to my understanding they also do some treatments to the leather after they receive it. And the leather on this jacket is substantial. It has a beautiful grain, very kind of tight grain, I would say, and just a depth of character. It's robust while still being pliable. It is in some ways a perfect leather for just a really comfortable but robust and stylish leather jacket. Really a kind of it's hard to put into words just how beautiful this leather is, and so that's why we have the pictures and everything. But I would also say it just feels really nice. And that is hard to convey in pictures, but just the texture of it is wonderful. And I have been told, so I have a really bad sense of smell, but I have been told also that it has a really pleasant leather aroma. Something that I can't really tell. This also came up recently, and something just to throw in there. This is a very quiet leather. Some leathers are really squeaky, and that tends to be due to their top coat or something that's been added on top after it's been made, like a conditioner or something that's squeaky. This leather is very quiet. Very quiet. It basically makes no squeaks at all. So, other materials for this jacket, its lining is a very kind of smooth, slippery rayon, and that lining is throughout. So both the body and the sleeves on this jacket have the same lining, and that fits in with the kind of style of this jacket, which is intended to be a lightweight racing shirt style, cafe racer style jacket. And those tend to have a kind of lighter weight, smoother linings. The zippers, they are branded with Cal MFG, so for California manufacturing. Rainbow Country is the maker, and their brand is California Manufacturing Co. And so they have the California Manufacturing label on the zips that have a pull tab, all three of them. And then the chest zippers are ball and chain style, and they are also branded with California Manufacturing on the ball. I just noticed that. There's one interior pocket on this jacket, and no exterior pockets for the hands, just the two chest pockets. So kind of a streamlined front end of the jacket. The back has an action back that goes all the way from a half belt waistband, and then the action back is actually quite a large action back that goes all the way from that midpoint to the top of the jacket. The construction of the jacket is superlative, beautifully made. Extremely well done with an extreme eye for detail. The stitching is very straight, very neat, with a high number of stitches per inch, and it gives off a very well put together, refined air. And in fact, they've even stitched in the lining on the inside. It is not blousy or moving around at all. This interior of the jacket stays in place, and the stitch work, they've actually made it to where it completely mirrors the stitch work for the leather that's put the jacket together. Other things about the construction, the band collar is comfortably made to where it stands but does not get in the way, and all of the zips and snaps and everything work smoothly and are a reasonable size for the weight of the jacket. There's no kind of mismatch between any of the hardware and the materials. Everything about the jacket from a construction sense is really well thought out and well done. So sizing on this jacket, and this is one of the really wonderful things for me as a dude in America buying a Japanese-made jacket, is that their sizing really works for me without having to make any adjustments. And by that I mean I typically take a size 40 in American sizes. For example, my Schott 618, this is an American biker jacket. I wear a 40 in that jacket. And in this Rainbow Country jacket made in Japan, I wear a 40. And the fit is really good. Just for reference too, I'm 5'9", I'm 175 pounds. My chest is just over 40 inches. And this size 40 fits exactly how you'd want a cafe racer racing shirt style jacket to fit, which is, it is a trim fit with room to move comfortably, but not really a lot of room for layers. Other things to note about the fit, it is a very trim fit, and the jacket does have high armholes, which could lead to some degree of limited mobility, especially while zipped. However, because this jacket features this really full action back, it actually is very comfortable to wear. It moves very easily with the body, and the kind of slippery lining on it makes it go on and off very easily no matter what I'm wearing with it. It's just a very comfortable jacket. And from a weight standpoint, the jacket weighs about 4.5 pounds. And so it is kind of a medium lighter weight jacket. You know, it doesn't have a lot of heavy hardware, belt buckles, bunch of zips. It doesn't have a heavy lining. So overall feeling of the jacket is that while it is robust, it's in a kind of light to mid-weight category as an overall weight. And it rests really easily on the body. It moves easily on the body. Everything about this design is comfortable and practical, while still looking awesome. And talking about looks and versatility and styling this jacket, the color, a brown, it's a really kind of rich burgundy brown. It has an interesting depth of color to it, and I find you can pretty easily just sub it in for anything you would have worn with a black jacket. You can use this color because it's dark enough and it tends to play well with similar colors. And that's what I've done with it, and it seems to work great. It also does work pretty well with other browns. You just have to watch out for, with browns, not having kind of like the uncanny valley. You don't want a color that's too close but not quite close enough. You can get a color wheel out and look at it and sort things out from there if you really want to. And folks that are really interested in color balance and making the colors of their outfits work in a certain way could probably give you more advice than I could on that. But I found it to be a really versatile color. Now, from a style of the jacket, more so than the other Rainbow Country jacket, which was a Hercules model, a sports jacket, this Speedster is obviously much more biker jacket style, and it does have more of an edge to it. It's a jacket that may give more rock and roll style vibes or streetwear style vibes. It's a jacket that I think tends to pair better with more casual styles than, say, the Hercules would with its dress collar and more kind of refined styling. But I would say with a caveat, which is because the jacket is so obviously made of such fine materials and is so neatly and precisely put together, even as a biker jacket, it does have a refined aura. And I wore it with jeans and a dress shirt, a button-up, collared dress shirt, and I think that the look was really great. Even if it did have a bit of an edge or a bit of a rock and roll style vibe to it, I really think that kind of the fact of the jacket mashing up these two kind of refined materials and construction with a biker style jacket it does give it more versatility than a biker jacket, like a cafe racer style jacket from Vanson, they're really making true biker jackets. I do think from a temperature standpoint, the lighter lining on this jacket and the lack of room for layers does mean that this is a jacket that is for those not so cold times. It doesn't have a melted wool lining and cotton flannel in the sleeve, so it's not going to do as well during those colder months. But hey, this is great for summer nights or spring weather and transitional weather. And what I think, the perfect leather weather sometimes is in the 60s, and it really works well in that kind of weather. Let's talk about the cost. So this jacket costs over 200,000 yen. The list price when I looked it up was, I believe, 225,500 yen. It's a big number. Right now, the conversion rate to US dollars, if you were able to buy it without paying for shipping or import fees or any of that kind of stuff, that's a direct translation to over $1,500 US. Depending on where you are, conversion rates do matter. And of course, timing matters for conversion rates. So I want to give you the actual list price to compare. Now, that typically means if you're buying this jacket used, you can get it for less than that, but you have to consider that with really nice jackets like this that are produced in limited numbers, scarcity impacts pricing, and you could probably expect to pay anywhere between $1,000 US to $1,500 US, like the full price, even if you're buying this used, just to be able to buy it. And when we're talking about these jackets, we're talking about makers at this level, this is a good price. That's the truth of it. It's very expensive, but this is what it costs to get a jacket made of these kind of expensive materials with this level of attention to detail, you know, honestly, this is, and it's going to sound funny saying this, but it's a really good price for what you're getting. And there are fashion style jackets, like fashion house jackets that go in leather that are going for $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 jackets. You know, of course, you could always pay as much as you want, as long as you're willing to pay more. As in, if you have $10,000 to spend on a jacket, you could probably find someone that's selling a jacket for $10,000. But with this, you know, price of just over 200,000 yen, that puts it as less expensive than some models from Real McCoy's, for example. And I have to say the quality is at least as good as Real McCoy's, and the hide is at least as good as Real McCoy's. So, you know, it's in the ballpark and what you would expect to pay for this. Now, how do you make this kind of price make sense? You know, it does have to go back to a couple of things. You know, value most purely expressed is a cost per wear thing. So if you're interested in getting a jacket at this price point, wear it a bunch, and your cost per wear continues dropping down. You also have to consider if you're really interested in these vintage styles and horsehide with a certain character, there's only so many makers that are doing it. And if you really want an awesome vintage style jacket from the 50s and you're interested in seeing it develop over time and really having a relationship with that jacket and building your history with it, then, I mean, you have sort of limited options for this really beautiful kind of high-end repros, and the price is appropriate for that range. Final thoughts, would I recommend this jacket? Yes. You know, I've worn a lot of jackets, and this is my second Rainbow Country, as I mentioned, and man, 2 for 2. You know, this is only the second Rainbow Country jacket I've tried on. I've tried on so many jackets over time. And this second Rainbow Country is just as superlative and awesome and well-fitting as my first try with Rainbow Country. And that is really saying something, that they are making an awesome jacket. They're making a jacket that really fits well on the body, that's really well thought out, that's beautifully constructed out of these beautiful materials. And it's really hard for me I can't really find any negatives. The only negative I could say would be, can you find it in your size? Can you find it in the color you want? And can you afford it? I mean, that's about it. And those are things that are for you to figure out a little bit, especially if it makes sense for you to buy a jacket at this cost. But if you're looking, I gotta give it just 100%. These are awesome jackets. I can't wait for my next Rainbow Country jacket. I don't know. Maybe I'll just switch to an entire Rainbow Country wardrobe. I think that might be silly wishful thinking. But, you know, they are really good at what they do. And if you're considering this Speedster model, you should go for it. You're going to be pleased. Don't hesitate if you find it in your size at a price that you can go for. If you have a Speedster or a Rainbow Country jacket, I'd be curious about your take on it. And let me know if I'm leaving something out of this review that you'd like to know more about. I'm here to share it. Have a good one. Have a good one. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about this awesome vintage leather jacket. It is a Cal Leather CHP, or California Highway Patrol style jacket, what they call an LAPD jacket from Cal Leather. And we're going to break down a little bit about the brand and then go into all the details about the jacket, like the materials, the hardware, construction, fit, how it wears on the body, and sizing advice, overall wearability, and some styling impacts of the design, and talk about cost and value, and just overall is it worth getting a vintage or new Cal Leather jacket. One of the really interesting things about jackets made in California for the Highway Patrol is that there are a bunch of small makers that kind of popped up after California added all these miles and miles and miles of highway, and they had police departments riding motorcycles. And so those individual departments had their needs, and a lot of local makers sprung up to meet the need. And so Cal Leather is based out of Ventura, California. What is really remarkable is that they make these jackets in this California Highway Patrol style that are just absolutely beastly, just so beefy. Like, honestly, I mean, this jacket weighs about 7 pounds. So very heavy, very robust, jackets that have really stood the test of time in terms of style and have achieved a kind of iconic collector status from Cal Leather specifically. And there are a bunch of similar ones, including Owl Leather, which was like a spin-off, and there may be some bad blood between Owl Leather and Cal Leather. I don't actually know all the full details there. But the idea of this style as a jacket that was made for the California Highway Patrol by all these little individual makers, well, a bunch of them are gone, but the ones that remain have made some incredible jackets. All right, so let's talk what this jacket's made of. It's really heavy at around 7 pounds, and it is this really thick leather drives the majority of that weight, which of course drives the majority of the cost for the jacket. It's a leather jacket after all. So let's talk about it. I don't actually know if it's cowhide or horsehide. It's one of the two. Some of the markings and the nature of the leather makes me tend to believe it may be horsehide, though either way, it's heavy and it has a thick top coat. This is a leather that's intended to be a protective armor while riding, so it bears those hallmarks of thickness and durability, protective top coat to protect against the elements, and abrasion resistance and all that kind of stuff that you're looking for in protective motorcycle gear of the bygone era. And the leather really is honestly phenomenal. It's beautiful. It has an awesome texture that it's built up over time. And one of the interesting things that Cal does is, because this leather is thicker and they're using as much of the hide as they can, they will end up getting these kind of striations or thicker areas that some makers would simply just put to the side, but they're perfectly functional and they can lead to some really kind of interesting, beautiful looks. In fact, what's kind of interesting about it is that there are brands like Fine Creek Leathers out of Japan, which come to mind, where an entire jacket will kind of be made of that particular part of the hide, but for a maker like Cal, it's just a part of the function and the process that they used to make, rather than going for a particular stylistic look. And on this jacket in particular, it's apparent on the arms, but really becomes obvious on the back. There's this huge panel that kind of has this awesome texture to it that is because of their use of the hide as much as they can get. Now, aside from the leather, what is this jacket made of? What are the components and everything? The interior is lined in a very smooth, what appears to be rayon, and there is a bit of fur at the ends of the sleeves that is part of the sleeve closing mechanism, basically. And there is heavy-duty talon zips. The center one looks, it's at least a 10, maybe bigger. The main zip is a huge brass zipper. The sleeve zips are more standard. They look to be maybe a 6 or an 8 style size zip. And from what I can tell, they appear to be the original zippers on this jacket. This is a robust zip that has really stood the test of time. Really classic quality from Talon zippers. Other things the jacket is made of, really rawhide for the lacing for the side adjustment. This jacket is a CHP or chip jacket, and it has the kind of classic design elements of the style, which are, it has 2 slanted pockets for hand warmer in the front, and they have a kind of stitching that goes horizontally across from top to top on those zippers. The jacket features snaps to put on a mouton collar, and it's kind of a standard inclusion for this jacket, that this being a used vintage jacket did not come with the jacket, unfortunately. They also typically come with a throat muffler or warmer, so that you have the fur collar around the sides and then a muffler in the front to create a complete wind block system for around the neck for warmth and colder weather. I mentioned one design element, which is the fur cuff that is interior to the end of the sleeve, so that when the sleeves are zipped, it can keep your wrists warm and not allow air in without having to have that really thick leather too tightly cinched around your wrist. It kind of acts like a gasket in a way, and I think it's a really cool feature on these jackets. And then asymmetrical main zip, yeah, kind of classic cross zip motorcycle style. And then the waistband on this jacket is kind of the final iconic part of the design, which is, it is this doubled up, very thick leather that is stitched in rows to create a rather stiff waistband around the bottom. And the jacket is actually has 3 panels for the bottom, which is to say there are 2 front panels which are separated by the zip, and then a large main back panel which there is some leather that acts as a gusset between the front that goes around the sides, and then there's some gusseting between the back panel and the two side panels. And so it allows for that stiff waistband to move without kind of impinging on your hips when it's all the way zipped. You know, really well thought out design, and just a part of that Chip motorcycle heritage. I would also say that pretty typically, and it's true on this cowl, is that the back has what some people call beaver tail, where the back dips and is significantly longer than the waist next to it. And this is intended to cover the lower portion of your back while you're driving a motorcycle. One thing to note about this leather, and it seems to be true about several cowls, and I think it just has to do with the way that they handle treating the leather, it's pretty squeaky. Just listen to this. Could be a make or break kind of thing for some folks. You can reduce it by cleaning, especially the area under the armpits, and doing a little bit of conditioning. That tends to reduce that noise. The construction on the jacket is really solid and kind of reminds me of the work from Schott. However, I would say there are some areas of wavy or uneven stitching, especially in those super thick areas at the waistband, where they just don't quite get the line straight. But nothing's falling apart, and the jacket is really robustly put together with very thick thread. So how do these jackets fit? Well, I am 5'9", 175 pounds, and this jacket has no size label. That's because all cowl jackets are custom made. And so it lends to this kind of thing where you really have to know your measurements, kind of, but you also have to understand that these jackets are built as a kind of standard with a pretty wide chest and shoulders, especially chest, and they taper rather dramatically. So they tend to be a really kind of generous, forgiving upper body fit, and they taper to your waist size. Now this is because these are intended to be practical jackets that are your one issue jacket while you're working for the California Highway Patrol, and it needs to be able to essentially cover you throughout the year no matter what the weather is. So they tend to build in a lot of space for layering and mobility, hence the very large pit to pit and the wider shoulder. And so those are really both functional features. And of course that taper, that sharp taper, brings the jacket tightly in against the waist so that it can keep the wind out and stay on your body properly. So once again, the form follows the function with this style, but it can lead to some confusion as to what size really works for you. And I would say, and this is a very interesting thing that I found with this jacket. Now, this particular jacket is a little oversized on me, but the pit to pit is way oversized on me. This jacket has a nearly 24-inch chest. I typically take, at the very largest, around 22 or 22.5 inch. So as you can see, it is much, much bigger across the chest than would typically work for me. The lengths all match up very well for me, and the hem size really matches well for me, and it has slightly large shoulders and this massive pit to pit. Now, I could probably use maybe an inch or so or an inch and a half smaller across the pit, but I want to take this moment to just say that you should expect a larger pit to pit on these cowl leather jackets than you might take in other sizes. And I found that this is kind of comparable to what happened to me with the Aero Highwayman. You know, I got an Aero Highwayman, which is a short and boxy jacket. And with that jacket, I took the standard sizing advice, which brought me 2 sizes down from my standard tie size. So I got a 36 in that jacket. And the Highwayman has about a 22.5 chest, which is really bigger than I normally take, but it just works. And that's what I want to say about the cowl, is that the bigger pit to pit just works. You have to break it in, and I'm sure it took some time. This jacket's from the 60s, but you can expect larger pit to pit sizes to work for you in this particular style. Okay, wearability. And this is one of the things that I think is most awesome about this jacket, which is that it weighs 7 pounds and it just disappears when worn. It is honestly maybe the most comfortable leather jacket that I have ever worn. Even considering that weight. And I've worn heavy jackets that you could feel it and it was not comfortable. And after just an hour or so, you could just start feeling a tension headache come on from your muscles just fighting against the jacket. This cowl, at its weight, with this robust leather, is so enjoyable to wear. You can really forget about it except for the squeaking, you know, which is kind of a funny thing. And I have to say kudos to those folks over at Cal that made this pattern to be so comfortable. Now, yes, as a caveat, this jacket is a little oversized on me, but even so, it's very nicely made for working with the body. Everything you need to do on the day-to-day is very comfortable and approachable in this jacket. There's no position that impinges or starts to feel like extra tension or difficulty. It's just very well made to move on the body. That being said, let's move into the style talk about this jacket. This is a jacket with an edge. This is a robust piece of leather that obviously is made for riding on motorcycles. And unlike a jacket like the Schott Perfecto, which has kind of achieved this very widespread usage and iconic status throughout kind of mainstream culture, the chip jacket has that kind of status in a smaller niche. And so while you're wearing this jacket out and about and thinking about styling this jacket, it's just going to be a little more biker and a little less everything else when you're wearing it. And so I think that's something to keep in mind. You know, it does have a harder edge than the Perfecto or a lot of other motorcycle styles like the Cafe Racer, which is kind of minimalist by design. This jacket is maximalist by design. And so you need to be aware of that and just dress accordingly. I think when it comes to different types of styles, it works with a lot of things, you know, which is true for a black leather jacket and especially true, I think, for beaten up or vintage leather jackets. They're easier to pair with things. And I found that to be the case with this cowl. Without getting too lost in the weeds, just know that this is a jacket that is gonna have a presence. And when you're wearing it, you have to account for that. That does make it somewhat less versatile in the traditional sense. And it makes it a little bit more of a ask of your confidence to wear this jacket. And for some folks, it's just gonna be too much. But I find that as I've worn it more, it is really, much like the Schott Perfecto, become more and more a favorite. And that's largely just because it's so easy to wear that I look forward to wearing it because it's so comfortable and easy to wear. And I come up with reasons to wear it, if you know what I mean. And so that really just speaks to an awesome jacket in my mind, that you're looking for that next excuse to work it into an outfit. All right, so we have to now talk about cost and value, and is it worth it? Now, with used vintage cowl leathers jackets like this one, in pretty good condition, you can find them perhaps from $350 to $700, and anywhere in that range I would call a good bargain, you know, especially depending on the condition. A lot depends on signs of provenance, like does it actually have the cowl leathers label in it, or does it just look like a cowl leathers and you're kind of hoping that's what you're getting. And if you find a vintage cowl in very good condition, in a popular size, like something between 40 and 44, and it has the mouton collar and all the other fixins, or maybe even the service belt that these jackets were made with back in the day, you know, that it may go for over $1,000, maybe more than that at auction, depending on the level of interest at the time that the jacket's going for sale. And that's because these jackets really have kind of attained this status amongst collectors of very high regard because of the way their patterns work and because of the history of the brand and because of that incredible leather. And so, you know, it's a little harder with vintage necessarily because the price ranges so much. So let's talk about also a new cowl, because this company is still making jackets today. You know, the list price right now for their LAPD style, which is what this is $1,800. Now, that's kind of expensive. That's more expensive, for example, than the Rainbow Country jackets that I have reviewed, if you just convert them straight to US dollars from their yen price. And so you get to thinking, is that too much? Well, I don't know. There are some accessories that are included in that price that kind of drive it up, which it comes with a mouton collar, which this jacket doesn't have. It comes with the throat protector. It comes with a hand-tooled service belt. You know, those things all have a cost with them. And so I have to imagine, you know, maybe getting the jacket without all of the add-ons could bring the price down to something around $1,400 or $1,500, which for a small maker, a specialty maker with this kind of heritage, based in the United States, making a jacket that is this beastly and this comfortable with this just incredible presence to it. New, I mean, that does seem kind of worth it if it could be driven down a little bit, just a touch. Maybe you don't get all the add-ons and you bring your price down. Now, if you want to go for the whole kit and caboodle and the classic thing, especially if you're riding a motorcycle in this jacket, then maybe the additional cost for those extras makes more sense for you. But it is definitely on the higher end of the cost scale. To me, it's a bit of an unanswered question because I haven't handled a new cowl. And it's something that I'm really interested in trying out, and I will be doing in the near future if all the stars align. So I'll have to report back on that on the new cowl value experience. In conclusion, man, what a jacket. What an incredible jacket. I really love, and have grown to love over time more and more, this robust, squeaky, comfortable, absolutely badass jacket. And you know, I think the thing that may drive people off from it is that it is so robust and so obviously a biker jacket. But when you find yourself going for it and then realizing that it's just that good and you just got to wear it again and you're working it into your outfits more and more, that to me is just a sign of a great jacket. And so it really totally makes sense why these cowl jackets have such a kind of iconic, dedicated following in the vintage community. Do you have a cowl jacket? Have you considered one? Have you gotten one from an alternate maker like Al's? You know, the Langley's Columbia is this kind of style of jacket too. Let me know what you think, and thanks for coming along the ride. Hey guys, Dale here today to talk with you about this Schott Peacoat, what they call the Model 740. So this is a just out of the box review. I haven't gotten a lot of wear on this jacket, but I'm just kind of going over the features and deciding what makes this jacket tick. It's a classic style, the Peacoat, originally a navy coat, and now it's kind of so widely adopted into popular use that many people don't even see it as a military item at all. We're going to talk about the materials, construction, the fit, other features of this jacket, and the price to help give you an idea of if this jacket makes sense for you. This Peacoat is made out of 32-ounce Melton wool. Now that wool is a 80% wool, 20% nylon combo. It has a lining on the inside, which is a quilted nylon that has polyester padding behind it, and that's everything that the jacket is made of. It's a double-breasted coat. It has these buttons that go all the way up the center, and it has 2 pockets on the front and then 2 interior pockets, one on each side. From Schott's website, you can get this jacket in the standard 32-inch length or a longer 36-inch length. I got this jacket in a size 38, even though I'm kind of more often a 40 in almost everything I buy, and it's still a pretty oversized fit, as you can see. I'm not sure if I would want to size down further if I was going to be keeping this jacket and wearing it regularly, but currently there is plenty of size on the inside for a layer, a hefty layer as a matter of fact. This jacket runs very big. A note about the buttons, if you're not familiar with using Peacoat buttons, really commonly folks just button the 2 middle buttons in the front. Some folks will just button this one, and this one here for many folks becomes kind of the main button. I would encourage you not to be lazy and rely on a single one of these buttons to hold the weight of this jacket closed, because I have read many reports of folks basically breaking this button, wearing away the thread, putting too much stress on it, and the button coming undone. So really your best bet is to keep at least 2 of the buttons done whenever you are doing the jacket up, so that you can spread some of the tension of the jacket across more than one button and have them last a longer time. Alternatively, you could take it to a tailor, or if you're knowledgeable yourself, you could do more reinforcement of that single button if you plan to use it a lot, and really beef it up so that it can handle the strain. But as it comes out of the factory, it will wear down if you just rely on the single button. You can button it all the way from bottom to the top when it's cold, and it creates a pretty great kind of shell effect to protect you, especially at this weight of wool with that lining. This is a very warm coat for the weight, which, by the way, this jacket weighs about 4.35 pounds. When we're taking that heavy wool and we're flopping this huge collar up, and this collar is massive, it really protects all the way up to the ears pretty much on me. And so you can see that this is a jacket that, from a functional standpoint, is made to keep you warm. The sleeves also run kind of long, and I think this is intentional. You want to have coverage all the way up the back of your hand, so there's no gap where your glove is keeping your hand warm, but the sleeve rides up and you get chilly in there. These sleeves are long enough that they're not going to ride up. Now, the construction is really solid. There's nothing kind of stand out about it, but in typical Schott fashion, the construction is well done. The seams are neat. The stitching on this is a little cleaner looking than on some of their leather jackets, but then again, even at this heavy weight of a wool, it's a much easier material to work with than heavy, stiff leathers. So kudos to them on a clean, neat construction. Now, how does the jacket work on the body? It is comfortable. I think it's easy for a very large jacket to be comfortable because there's plenty of space for your body to move around within it. I would say, however, that I've had vintage Peacoats where the wool was extremely stiff and kind of rubbed against the neck and was uncomfortable to wear. This jacket rests easy on the body, and the wool is more flexible while maintaining a pretty good warmth, and is more comfortable to wear than the vintage one that I had used to have. And so pretty good marks there for comfort and wearability for this jacket. And with the kind of oversized nature of it, again, this is a 38 and I normally wear a 40. There's plenty of space to put layers underneath and still comfortably move. If you're liking this review that I'm doing about this Schott Peacoat, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot and helps me to continue producing these videos. And hey, if you're considering buying from Schott, clicking through the affiliate link in either the description of this video or in my profile is an amazing way to support the channel, and one of the primary ways that I get additional funding to help support paying for things like this Peacoat for review. Thanks for watching. Keep on rocking. Some people would say that this jacket would do better longer to look dressier. I suppose that's a style preference and something that I'm a little less familiar with. I typically wear very short jackets. So this one feels very long on me in that it goes all the way past my pockets. Most of my jackets are hitting here in the belt range or just below the belt. I do have a couple of bigger coats, but I have less personal experience and knowledge to impart when it comes to coat length. I have read that longer feels dressier, and there's a kind of classic dressy style where classic overcoats for men in suits would go very far down to protect you from splatter and other kind of things you might encounter so your suit wouldn't get dirty. However, this is not a classic menswear garb in that sense. This is a military piece of garb, and so having more ability to hinge in the coat and not have it get impinged at the knees if it was longer kind of does make sense to me as something intended for active wear like most military garb is. This jacket costs $380. That's a pretty good price for something that's made in the USA and of such hefty materials. It's interesting, I did some kind of shopping price comparison. A lot of companies have wool Peacoats that run somewhere between $350 to $480. You know, there are a lot of different kind of mall Peacoats like that you would see from Michael Kors or from other brands that you see at Macy's and Dillard's and JCPenney. And I saw quite a few that were priced exactly at $480, so $100 more than this, and quite a few that are priced at $350. I don't know how these big firms come up with their pricing points, but clearly those are some points that are kind of commonly looked at because it was extremely widespread, those two figures. That being said, those mall brands do tend to go on discount more often than Schott does, and so you have to take their value with a grain of salt. I think within that realm of pricing, Schott's price for this really well made in the USA heavyweight Peacoat does make sense when you're shopping around. So do you have a Peacoat like this? Have you considered buying one? Let me know about it. What you think about the length is something I'm kind of curious about. And do you think that even sizing down one is not enough for this Schott Peacoat? Would you go down 2 sizes? I don't know. It seems like a bit much. Let me know what you think. Hey y'all, Dell here today. We're going to talk about pairing black and brown. It's a question I get a lot. It's a question that I never really thought much about, and just I wear black and brown together and it seems kind of natural to me. But clearly it's something that people are curious about. And, you know, I think that showing black and brown together is a great way to get those creative juices flowing when it comes to building your own black and brown outfits. So in this video, we're going to see 5 different black and brown outfits in a little bit. We're going to get to that. But, you know, just showing right now here in this video, you can see one of the most iconic black and brown pairings that has existed, which is this cloth, which is called beach cloth. It's made out of a wool combination, and it's literally a black and brown combination fabric. Looking at this one item that I'm wearing kind of builds the case in point that yes, of course, black and brown can go together. These are casual environments, more casual outfits. Got to be some leather jackets in there. How about we just hop over and you can check out those different outfits. All right, so first up, the layering piece we're featuring here is this Schott Duke 370. This is an unlined rough out jacket, which means that the fuzzy side is out. It's got a lot of texture. It's got a lot of contrast with the black. Now, in the later part of the video, I will introduce you to this base outfit, which is a black denim shirt, black denim jeans, and then a brown leather belt and brown leather boots. We see this big contrast with this outfit. It is the most contrasting outfit with that lightness of that tan jacket against the darkness of the black denim. It's also the most lightweight or most appropriate for warmer weather of the outfits. And just an easygoing kind of fit featuring this contrast. Moving one up on the warmth scale, we have this Schott Perfecto. It does have a cozy collar and it does have a nylon quilted lining. This is not a super warm jacket on its own though. And this brown of this jacket has a kind of warmer tone than the brown of the other leather accessories, but I think they work well together. And the shininess of this leather tends to set it apart. Interestingly, you see this interior lining is actually kind of a grayish black against the brown of the leather. Again, we are seeing black and brown featured within a single item, part of this larger ensemble. And I think that this is the kind of fit that just speaks casual cool. Something about a motorcycle jacket is just always going to be the coolest to me. And the kind of fuzzy collar on this is a nice statement piece. It really makes the jacket stand out to me in a good way. Next up, we have this kind of rugged, refined look. I've added a Filson Mackinaw wool vest in this charcoal plaid colorway, and I'm pairing it with my Sears Hercules vintage horsehide jacket. It has an easy space for that layer underneath, and I think together the kind of waistcoat vibes and this kind of more refined, gentlemanly jacket that I'm wearing here really go well together. This is the first fit that I'm featuring here that adds another layer in addition to the jacket. And we see that it works well by itself, just the vest, and it adds a compelling note of visual interest and insulation. And then the jacket on top kind of seals the deal. You know, the layering game becomes much stronger with 2 pieces, and it just shows how you can have different types of blacks going with the brown that you're featuring here, and you can still have a really nice cohesive outfit. The dressiness of the different items works well together to make it a coherent whole. All right, next up, the warmth scale. This fit features the Brown's beach cloth jacket that I was wearing in the opener to the video. It's actually made by Taylor Stitch. It's what they call the Decker jacket, and this one's, you know, a nice warm jacket. You know, surprisingly enough, it does very well with the wind, and the weight is a nice mid-weight and surprisingly warm given the nature of it being so much wool. I think that this is kind of a dressy workwear style, and it can look buttoned up really good like this. I tend to wear it at least partially undone, as you see me undoing all the snaps here. You know, I think this kind of gives the best casual vibe for this particular setup. Untucked, kind of casual, just a little relaxing into the softness of the material. But great kind of combo and contrast piece here that gives an almost salt and pepper vibe when you see it from a distance. And then up close, you can tell that's all these different tones of black and brown together. Last, but certainly not least, and definitely the warmest, this combination featuring a Johnson leather jacket that was made for me and a alpaca sweater I got off of eBay. Really kind of wonderful geometric pattern on the sweater. Lends a lot of kind of contrast and visual interest to this look. And I think also the contrast of the obviously big, fluffy, cozy sweater with this kind of sleek jacket. You know, this is a combination that is a lot of contrast, but shows how that contrast can work really well. And it's all black and brown, every single thing you see here, and they're all kind of playing harmoniously together. Love this fit, and I love this kind of setup. The sort of unsung hero of this whole set of outfits is this base. It is a J. Crew denim shirt that I've had for several years. The belt's from Schott, New York City. Made with Horween Chrome Excel steer hide. It stretches somewhat, but I think it's settled into what will most likely be its final length. And the jeans are from Free Note cloth and 14-ounce denim. They're Portola cut. You know, honestly, 3 favorite items here that I wear a ton of. And they're paired in all of these fits with these whites boots. These are white semi-dress and brown dress leather. It's also called the Seidel brown. It's a hardy leather, but packed full of oils and other things. Really stands up to a lot of beating and has this kind of beautiful T-core effect, which you can see on these boots. This is my most worn pair of boots, and it is apparent by looking at them, something I think they really just become more beautiful with time. So, you know, you can see here that black and brown, both real strong together, both obviously their own color, and both really working well together. All right, there you have it. 5 different outfits, each featuring black and brown with kind of the same base of black. You know, it comes to mind that we could do a very wide variety of potential bases and maybe something we should do some more videos about. But each one of those outfits really had a unique flavor to them and could be worn in different types of environments or in different types of temperatures. And I just think that it's such a self-evident thing when you see it that black and brown can go together like so easily and so complementarily. You know, I think the biggest thing to avoid, and something that I did avoid with these outfits, is making it to where the browns, if the browns don't go well together in your outfit, it will be kind of odd looking. Like, for example, I do have a pair of kind of a saddle tan or British tan engineer boots. They can make it more difficult to pair with other browns in an outfit. And so you just have to maybe stay away from those conflicting browns. That's something you'll develop an eye for as you try things out. But other than that, specifically just the black and the brown, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let me know what you think about the outfits, which was your favorite, and what you would like to see for a black and brown outfit. Have a good one. Hey guys, Dale here. Today we're looking at my whites boot semi-dress in brown dress leather. This boot. You know, you may have seen these online, but how much have you seen them really worn in? We're going to check those out today, because mine have got 4.5 years of wear, and they've really come a long way with development and patina. Let's get to it. But first, let's talk a little bit about this boot from the maker. It is the original semi-dress boot from 1932, made for workers and factories and all around, as opposed to loggers and outdoorsmen. This is more of a factory and typical work boot. It has a 5-inch full grain water resistant leather upper. This is the brown dress leather, and an awesome leather, and one that is a quote-unquote basic option, but which I think is just an incredible leather with a lot of comfort and potential for wear. It's got the leather midsole and shank that Whites is known for, and it's built on the 55 Archies last, which has a pretty good amount of arch support, which does require breaking in. It took me just about a week, though, and turned into a really comfortable pair of boots with time. So that is the brief rundown on this boot. Next up, we're going to talk about my experience with them and them broken in. All right, so here's my pair of white semi-dress and brown dress leather. It's actually one of two pairs that I have of the semi-dress. The other is in black dress leather. It's the boot so nice, I bought it twice. This pair has two main differences from the standard configuration. One, the heel is the block or traveler heel instead of that logger heel. And the sole is a Western sole rather than the standard half comp sole. So this is a bit of a softer sole. You can see with the way that this heel, it's lower, and in fact the whole back profile of the boot looks a little bit sunken in compared to the standard. The whole thing is just shifted downwards. It does make for a very comfortable gait. The stride with this heel is in fact better for traveling in my experience, and it makes for just a really comfortable walk in this boot. Obviously you can also see that the wear on this boot in 4.5 years of just standard use, the sides, these fronts on the toe box in particular get a lot of wear. The outside of the toe box also gets a fair bit of wear, and they're just kind of glowing. When they're brand new, they look so dark and so even that it could be mistaken for black in some pictures, but with time, that outer dye has worn away overall, and then has these really high wear areas where it's a much lighter brown, and it just makes for just a beautiful boot. It is just one of the leathers that is not special. It's not a upcharge. There's nothing that makes this leather hard to get, but it is just really good. And it's a leather that I fell in love with whenever I saw pictures of other people's boots on the internet and the way that they had worn them in. And I just really have been enjoying the way this leather has changed with time. Now, I would also say, just so you could understand how it got to look this way, I do not work a trade job. I am in and out of the car a lot, and I do a lot of walking for work. And I've worn these boots in all sorts of weather. I live in South Louisiana, so no snow, and I'm not going in mud. So just standard city use, I would say, with some mild in-town hikes in the little forest that we have that's within the city limits. I have conditioned these boots once, and it was with Sapphire Medaille d'Or, because that's just what I happen to have. It was a gift to me. And they've just really been looking great with time. The back of these boots, I would say it's a voluptuous look. I read that in someone's description of it, and I have to agree. These boots have a badonk. There is a curve to this backside of the boot. You can also see I'm a pretty heavy outside heel striker and the wear on these boots. Now, that is after 4.5 years, and I have not replaced them, so looking pretty good in my opinion. Now, this is just another angle kind of showing the top down and the side at the same time. I want to point out kind of two problems with the boot. One, if you see on the right side there, and this is not mirrored on the other boot, that reflection right in the middle of the foot, there is kind of a wrinkly bit there, and it's something that it's not perfect, but it's a work boot, and I think it looks great and is within the character and expectation for our work boot to have some amount of waviness like that. And then also I want to point out the double stitching around the outside. You can see, I mean, this is a handmade boot, a hand-stitched, hand-bottom, hand-everything boot, and that double line of stitching, it is not perfectly straight or even. And I think it has a lot of charm because of that. And I know that I'm wearing a handmade pair of boots, but some people have complained online about that, and I think they're kind of short-sighted. Neither imperfection has ever impaired the functionality of the boot. Let's look at this boot in the sunlight. So I wanted to kind of show the difference in lighting for this boot, and also show off this heel a little bit more if you're interested in this Western style heel. So one, it is obviously a lighter tone, and it is still clearly brown. You can see a little bit better the markings in the sun of just the scrapes and all that kind of stuff. It does make it a little bit harder to see those lighter tones, but you can see the actual physical marks a little bit better. And then talking about this heel, you can see it is worn away a bit where I have the highest amount of pressure in the ball of my foot, and it should be little lines there, but they're all smoothed out. I've also found with this particular sole, it is easy to walk around on and has good grip, but little bits of stuff get stuck in those little tiny lines, little tiny pieces of gravel. I had gum stuck in there once. It was a huge pain in the butt to get out. On balance, I'm really happy with that sole. Let's take a look at these boots in motion. I think it's going to give us a better feel for the three-dimensional nature of this boot, the size of that toe box. And these are an 8EE, by the way. I don't think I mentioned the size earlier. And you can also better see the crease marks along that toe and the wear that has developed. Just really the voluptuousness, that word again, of this boot is more apparent while we look at it in motion and seeing those curves as they move. Really, this boot has broken in beautifully. I found it really did not take very long either with this sole and this leather, maybe about a week, and it was comfortable, extremely comfortable. And it has only become more comfortable with time. You can see also that stitching along the edge of the toe box. It's not the most even, but still beautiful in its own way. Looking inside the boot, you can see the leather. Now, this, I'm trying to give a feel of the texture of it. This tongue is not attached all the way up. It is made of a softer material than the rest of the boot. This particular pair is unlined. You can see I have a toe box in there. It's much firmer on the toe. That does lead to a crease forming along the edge of it. There's kind of a roll, actually, right there at the edge of that Celastic toe box. The heel on this boot is extremely strong. Squeezing it, essentially, it does not give at all. And everything about it is just so super sturdy, to be honest, that it has really stood the test of time. I will have to replace these heels eventually, but still, they're good for me for now. I also want to give kind of a feel for how this boot works with different colors in this brown dress leather. So I've worn it with all of these things from left to right. We have a black pair of jeans, a blue pair of jeans, a pair of olive ripstop chinos, a pair of kind of dark brown chinos, and a pair of ecru jeans. Really this pair of boots has worked with all of those things, and there's a whole color theory, a color wheel that you could pull out to really compare different shades and tones and figure out what works with what. But I really find that at this dark of a color, it is really versatile and goes with a lot of other colors. Just that's kind of the nature of dark browns, is it is just a versatile color. And I think as it is worn in and it has those lighter tones, the worn in boots just also tend to work better with other stuff. Just in general, worn in things work better with other stuff because they look like just a part of you and not just something put on for the outfit. All in all, a really versatile color and boot choice. So final thoughts. Awesome boots, beautiful boots, comfortable boots, just a bunch of superlatives, I suppose you could say. They do cost $710 nowadays, which is a pretty penny. They will basically last forever and only look better, but I suppose it's up for you if you want to decide that $710 is worth it. I gotta say though, with the level of comfort and just sturdiness, that I think that you will be able to ride this boot for a really long time, and that depending on how often you wear them, yes, you might need to resole them, but they can be resoled. And it will probably be the kind of thing that if you like the style, you'll be able to get the wears in to get that value at a reasonable place by getting the cost per wear way down. So anyways, do you have a pair of White's boots? Do you have a pair of White's boots semi-dress? Are they in brown dress leather? What'd you think about the review? Anything that you want to share, I love seeing comments and responding to them. Hope you have an awesome day. Perhaps the most common problem that people bring to me about biker jackets is that they simply don't think they could wear them, that it wouldn't work with their style. And they'll say very commonly, I love that look, but it wouldn't work for me. Well, this video, I am setting out to prove you wrong, that yes, in fact, a biker jacket can work for you. I have 10 different ways of dressing, and every way is paired with the same black biker jacket, and every way looks awesome. I think you'll be surprised about some of the choices here and how well they work. The jacket that I'm featuring here is the Perfecto 618. It's the black biker jacket, in my opinion. I'm wearing it right now, and you're gonna see how versatile this jacket actually is. So first up, we have the regular dude, just a guy wearing a graphic tee and a cap and the jeans he's had for years and some sneakers. This is just all of us at some point or another. Maybe you're wearing this right now as you watch this video. And all we're doing is we're adding the jacket, and the look is complete. Honestly, looks awesome, which is great news because this means that this jacket will basically work for any guy. Just check it out. Similar, but a little more specific. There's that guy we know. Maybe you're that guy that is always wearing band shirts, probably wearing a hoodie, maybe always wearing a hoodie with a band shirt underneath it. And guess what? Looks great with the Perfecto. Just honestly, the kind of punk rock history of this jacket makes this look kind of make sense on its own, but it's just a look that works. And if you're this kind of guy that's always wearing band shirts, no surprise that the Schott Perfecto is going to fit right in with what you do on the regular. One thing that I do like that this shows off that's possibly surprising is that even this relatively thick hoodie works just fine under the Perfecto. And this is a pretty trim fit on me, but because of the way that this jacket has some mobility features for motorcycle use, namely the action back and underarm footballs, even really filling it in pretty much completely, jacket is still really comfortable and it's no big deal. You can rock this and it's a good look. Hitting another classic here. This is the 1950s classic style. This is the Marlon Brando look from the Wild One. This is the greaser look, although I don't have the hair to pull it off. This is the denim head look that's often used, you know, classic for a reason. This is a style that really, when people think of the Perfecto, often think of this specific style. Got to make space for the classics. I think this is an awesome look, and it's a minimalist look that lets the jacket really kind of shine. Coming in with maybe a sleeper hit here, athleisure. Look, I'm not really an athleisure fan. I don't wear it much. I don't really have the sneakers to go with this look, but I did my best to pull it off. And you know what? I think it actually works better than I expected. I think it could have been nice if I had had an actual matching pair of light gray joggers and a light gray sweatshirt, which is kind of the classic choice there, but I don't have it. But I do have this, what you see here, and it actually works pretty good. And I was surprised. This is the look that surprised me the most. On Instagram, I posted all of these looks as one kind of supercut reel, and athleisure got more votes than I expected. I was expecting 0, and several people did like this. So let's make space for athleisure, even if it's not my particular style. It works with the jacket. Now we are hitting up Aloha style. Look, if you're living that island life, if you like your rum drinks strong, you know what? Aloha shirts are a thing. I fall in that category, not the island life, but I do like rum drinks and tiki drinks, and I have a small collection of Aloha shirts. I feel like this is also a common kind of shirt to see in the heritage menswear scene. People go from wearing flannels in the winter to wearing Aloha shirts during the summer and warmer months. And look, you can just throw that jacket on top and it is rocking. This is an awesome look, and this is my own personal favorite of the more unconventional looks. Just gotta love it. Just feels like a good time. Next up, are you an urban lumberjack? Well, this is the look for you. This is another kind of classic heritage menswear, rugged style look with these chonky work boots, this crispy blue jeans, a great flannel. Wow, You can just throw this jacket on top of this look and dang, it looks awesome. You know, this is one of those looks where folks will often wear a really thick flannel, which might have some difficulty with some jackets or with the tucking in that you see me doing here. And I think with this look, I would say a lot of guys might wear this flannel untucked, and that would be fine. It's just not my personal style, but that's a way to go with it. And, you know, just having a little bit of black in the flannel really helps here, but even then you don't actually have to have it. It would maybe, if I didn't have black in the flannel, I'd want to have black boots and a black belt. Food for thought. Are you into Western wear? Do you like a little flair? Well, let's check it out. Look, I wish I had a pair of cowboy boots to wear with this look. I do not, so I kind of did my best here. I do have this really sweet bolo tie, which was a gift at Christmas time for me. And I think that this look with the bolo tie and these Wrangler Ranchers has a really kind of dressy vibe. And we are moving into some more dressier looks here. And this jacket really works well with the high waist on these pants. And I think the contrast, they're both black, but these are polyester pants. So we have a different kind of texture and color temperature going on here. Awesome look. Different boots would work really well here. I wish I had them, but you know, can't have everything. Could really also rock a bandana with this look, or a cowboy hat, or any other kind of Stetson style would probably look really good with this fit. All right, so I don't have any polo shirts, but this is my best shot at business casual. I personally got rid of my last polo shirt a few years ago. And look, business casual, I'm wearing khakis. I'm wearing these awesome Grandstone boots, by the way, which I just recently reviewed, and they really bridge this gap between rugged and dressy. And just throw this jacket on top and kabam. You could leave the 9 to 5, put on the jacket, head out, have a good time. This is the jacket for you. Are you riding this jacket into your office drone work? Maybe. Maybe. Add a little bit of excitement to a regular fit. It just does. It works. We're inching up that formality scale. We're going up a notch from business casual to a little bit of a dressier office look. We got a dress shirt here and some chinos that have more drape to them. And I think this combination, one, I really do love black and green, and the white shirt just makes it pop. And the black leather from the jacket, the belt, and the boots really stand out against this look. And I think the whole thing really comes together nicely. And the dressiness of the shirt, of the base outfit, makes a kind of fun contrast to the jacket, and one that almost gives a rock and roll vibe in my mind. Last but not least, we have this trad ivy look. I've got this Brooks Brothers sweater, Brooks Brothers tie, buttoned up dress shirt. We got the suit trousers, and guess what? It just is on fire, in my opinion. This is the gentleman biker. You know, some folks on Instagram that I follow really rock this look and ride motorcycles looking like this, and I think it looks just so badass, to be honest. Such like a combination of these contrasting things that just absolutely rips. And I did use gray here. I do think it can work with a lot of other colors. It just happens to be what I have. And this is a really limited part of my wardrobe, to be honest. I really wish I had more dress trousers to try with this kind of look. And seeing it here, the commitment is strong. This year I'm doing more gentleman biker looks because this is so badass. All right, so there are 10 looks. I think that honestly, maybe like 90% of dudes are just in the regular guy category, but we all wear different clothes sometimes. That being said, I really hope that you found, and I mean this sincerely, some inspiration in these different outfits working with this biker jacket. And that if you've been thinking, this is just not a jacket I can wear, then you kind of can see that the only part that you got to do is put it on with what you already wear. So I'm also curious, do you think I left out a common kind of way of dressing or a common dude that should be included in this video? Hit me up in the comments. I'm curious about your thoughts. I'd also like to know who wore it best of the 10.